Su Ligua fell silent immediately, but the blade trembled, and inwardly he cried, "It's over, it's over. I must have gone mad just now, letting my head get the better of me. How could I attack this fatal star? Su Ligua, you're supposed to be a clever demon. How could you be so impulsive? The refining is temporarily finished. I'll be watching your future performance. If you defy me again, I'll erase your sword's spirit directly." Wong Lin's voice was icy, but in Su Ligua's ears it fell like a warm breeze. His nervous mind instantly calmed, and he rushed to say, "Master, you are truly..." Before he could finish, Wong Lin raised his right hand, and with a casual sweep, sent the great sword into a storage rift that opened nearby. He ignored Su Ligua's increasingly exaggerated flattery. Having put away Su Ligua, Wong Lin shifted his body to the side and instantly vanished without a trace. On a cultivation star under the Vermilion Bird Sacred Sect, Tashan remained sitting cross-legged. Beside him were several animal skins, upon which he was continually inscribing with his own blood and rune power. As Tashan drew, his right hand trembled. He raised his head and saw Wong Lin standing quietly in front of him, gazing at him. "Master." Tashan fell silent for a moment, and then said quietly, a trace of bitterness creeping into his voice. Wong Lin looked away into the distance. After a while, he said calmly, "Your mind has recovered. There's no need to call me master any longer." A deep bitterness crossed Tashan's face, and he whispered, "Back then it was master who kept me alive. That kindness, Tashan will not forget it." Wong Lin sighed, glanced at Tashan, and asked, "When are you leaving?" Tashan trembled and looked up at Wong Lin. After a moment of silence, he forced a bitter smile and asked, "How did Master know?" "From the moment you arrived here, you kept making talismans. If you hadn't made up your mind to leave, you wouldn't have gone to such lengths." This was the first time in years Wong Lin had come face to face with Tashan. Looking at the former immortal guard, Wong Lin felt a rush of complex emotions. Tashan nodded quietly and said in a low voice, "I want to go back to Luotian. Master, aside from the ones I made for myself, I prepared these for you as well: speed, collapse, and seal." As Tashan spoke, he drew from his robe and presented Wong Lin with 3 animal skin talismans. He stood up, offering them respectfully. These were made from the rarest of skins and infused with many times more soul power than ordinary talismans. Wong Lin looked at Tashan, took the 3 talismans, and said softly, "The Alliance Star Domain is in chaos. Be careful on your journey." Tashan nodded in acknowledgement. "If you happen to find a disciple I previously took in on Azure Spirit Star, watch over them for me." Wong Lin glanced once more at Tashan, then turned and walked away. It wasn't until Wong Lin had gone far away that Tashan knelt on the ground, pressed his forehead against it in the direction Wong Lin had gone, and a look of resolve crossed his face. Rising, he carefully put away all the animal skins, exhaled deeply, and flew off into the starry sky. This time, when the Rain Immortal Realm went to rescue Azure Dragon's Sacred Emperor, Situ Nan naturally followed. The poison in his body hadn't been completely removed. Without a proper antidote, it remained a hidden danger. Before Wong Lin could seek him, Situ Nan had already arrived at the place where the 35 sacred sect elders were, standing quietly behind one of them. The very elder who had been helping him purge the poison all these years. Situ Nan sat cross-legged, his expression solemn. His mind was made up. If this poison were removed, he would surely drag Wong Lin back to Phoenix Luan Star to take revenge. The suffering Situ Nan had gone through all these years, he would make sure it was repaid 100 times over by those women from Phoenix Luan Star. Within the Vermilion Bird Sacred Sect's territory were barren planets unsuitable for cultivation, barren worlds filled with toxic energy. The poison was especially potent under the roaring flames. At this moment, Wong Lin appeared on just such a barren world. There were no plants here, and nearly all life had gone extinct. All that remained was a black wilderness, radiating immense heat. Walking across the black sand, Wong Lin felt traces of poison permeate through the waves of oppressive air. The black wilderness was not a flat plain. It rose and fell like mountains, with deep gorges cutting across it. Wong Lin came to the edge of a gorge. Looking downward, all that met his view was an endless blackness, with only blasts of heated air surging upward, tugging at his white hair. Junior Wong Lin pays his respects to two seniors, Cloud Immortal couple. Wong Lin called in a clear voice, cupping his hands in a respectful salute. As soon as his voice fell, a sword light suddenly flew up from within the gorge, darting directly toward Wong Lin. Instead of retreating, Wong Lin remained in place, his piercing gaze glimmering, as the sword light drew close. This mountain ravine was incredibly deep, with waves of heat rushing toward them. Wong Lin paid it no mind and glanced at Zhou. Zhou's expression remained calm as he said softly, "At first, it took some getting used to here. But now it's fine. Wong Lin, I heard you came this time to rescue the Azure Dragon Sacred Emperor." Zhou hesitated before finally asking. Wong Lin shook his head and looked at Zhou with a respectful gaze. "It's not just to save the Azure Dragon Sacred Emperor. There's also the matter of immortal Emperor Qinglin. Only by awakening Qinglin can immortal monarch Qing Shuang have a chance at revival." Zhou's expression lit up with emotion when he heard this. He looked at Wong Lin with gratitude and said, "Thank you." Wong Lin's face showed a trace of complexity. He simply shook his head in silence. Zhou was taken aback for a moment, then seemed to realize something. His expression dimmed as he said softly while descending with Wong Lin, "You and I, we're very alike. Only difference is, I have you to help me, while you have no one to rely on. Brother Zhou is useless, and I can't help you." Wong Lin remained silent, saying nothing more. Before long, the two of them reached the bottom of the ravine. To their surprise, the place had been transformed by a great divine art, reversing the natural order to separate the toxic heat and revealing a hidden paradise. A small river flowed through, its destination unknown. A few wooden cottages stood not far from the riverbank, the ground covered with patches of green grass and clusters of blooming flowers that dotted the scene with color. By the river sat Wang Wei, legs crossed, smiling at his beloved Huan across the water. Huan looked like a carefree child, her feet swaying in the river as she occasionally splashed water with delight. Junior Wong Lin greets the two elders, Wong Lin said respectfully with clasped fists after he and Zhou broke through the heat barrier. Wang Wei glanced at Wong Lin and chuckled. "Tell me why you wanted me to ambush that Tian Yunzi, or I won't let it slide so easily." Across the river, Huan smiled faintly as she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and laughed. Wong Lin, he's still holding on to that. Thinks it was beneath him, as someone of his standing, to ambush a junior. Wong Lin smiled. He knew that after surviving the battle in the land of demonic spirits together, Wang Wei and Huan no longer regarded him as an outsider. That ambush clearly wasn't something Wang Wei truly took offense to. He gave a brief explanation, and Wang Wei asked no further about it. "Back in the land of demonic spirits, I once heard immortal Emperor Qinglin mention three things: the Rain Realm Sacred Hall, the Primordial Spirit Crystal, and Qing Frost Blood. I have the latter too, but the Rain Realm Sacred Hall." Wong Lin paused here and looked at Wang Wei. Wang Wei's expression turned serious. He nodded. "In recent years, I've tried recalling things about the Rain Immortal Realm. There really was a sacred hall. That was where our master ascended to become an emperor. I told you about this before. You've come here now, could it be?" Wang Wei gazed at Wong Lin. Wong Lin fell silent. With a sigh, he explained how the old sacred emperor had retrieved the rain crystal. Upon hearing this, Wang Wei was deeply moved, and even Huan stopped playing in the water. She stood, slipped on her shoes, and moved to Wang Wei's side. They exchanged a glance. Wang Wei spoke solemnly. "We, as husband and wife, have always remembered the grace of the Vermilion Sacred Emperor. If the Azure Dragon Sacred Emperor truly is in the Rain Realm, we'll help in the rescue. Consider it repayment for the Rain Crystal." Wong Lin nodded. Wang Wei and Huan packed up briefly, and together with Zhou, followed Wong Lin toward the starry sky. As for Qinglin's physical body, it remained safeguarded with Wang Wei. On the main star of the Vermilion Bird Sacred Sect, at the heart of the formation, everyone was waiting in silence. Suddenly, furlong rainbows streaked across the sky, approaching rapidly and transforming into Wong Lin, Wang Wei, and the others. Wong Lin didn't pause. He stepped directly into the center of the formation and sat cross-legged. His eyes gleamed as he opened and closed them, then shouted in a low voice, "Activate the formation." As he spoke, he reached into the void with his right hand. Instantly, a rift tore open before him, from which floated out a crystal surrounded by immortal chi. At the same time, tens of thousands of disciples from the four sacred sects sitting around the perimeter closed their eyes in unison. Their cultivation surged forth, flowing into the formation beneath them. Instantly, lights began to flicker across the array. As the brightness intensified, it followed the lines of the formation, converging beneath the 35 elders. Then, the formations under each elder lit up as well. Almost simultaneously, they all began forming hand seals, channeling their cultivation with frenzied speed. A thunderous roar echoed in the sky as the gate of the rain realm slowly opened above the main star of the Vermilion Bird's sacred sect. In that instant, nearly all cultivators within the Alliance star domain who had reached a certain cultivation level felt the ripples in the starry sky. Those familiar with it could immediately recognize that the Rain Immortal realm had been activated. Meanwhile, Rain Immortal cauldrons naturally materialized in various corners of the Alliance star domain. However, Luo Tian, the Corpsine sect, and various powers of the Alliance had already focused their attention on the Vermilion Bird star. Despite being shocked by the sudden opening of the Rain realm, they had no time to divert their attention. If we enter the Rain realm with our cultivation levels, it will destabilize the realm and cause widespread collapse. We must rescue the Azure Dragon's sacred emperor swiftly. With those words, Wong Lin transformed into a streak of light, shooting toward the sky's Rain realm gate. Behind him, 35 shattered Nirvana elders followed suit, along with Situ Nan, Wang Wei, Huan, and others. Additionally, there was one person, unnoticed by Wong Lin, who shot into the Rain realm like a silver streak. This person was the silver-clothed corpse. At the same time, far in the northern part of the Alliance star domain, in a remote savage star, the ground suddenly shook and cracked in a cross-shaped pattern, revealing an aged elder with white hair. His hair obscured his face, making it difficult to see his features, but a flickering crystal light materialized into a rain cauldron in front of him. Wong Lin, you cannot escape my calculations. A gust of wind blew, lifting the elder's disheveled hair and revealing his face, which was none other than Tian Yunzi. The long queue of vendors on the street, filled with the delicious treats like fried dough sticks pulled from hot oil, steamed buns revealed from the steaming baskets, and dishes of soft soybean pudding, made this street bustling every morning. Zheng Shuishan's stall sold wine. Despite being early in the morning, the wine produced by his family was light and refreshing. Drinking it in the morning not only kept one sober, but also made one feel revitalized, making it quite popular. Zheng Shuishan, now in his 50s, sat with his pipe, watching his workers hustle about, and a smile crept across his wrinkled face. A middle-aged man who had just poured a jug of wine shook the bottle, took a big gulp, and laughed at Zheng. Uncle Zheng, your wine doesn't taste as good as it used to. Have you run out of ingredients? Zheng's eyes widened as he took a puff on his pipe and huffed. Nonsense. My Zheng family's wine. Before the old man could finish, the middle-aged man laughed. Your wine has been passed down for thousands of years. It's said that a celestial being once tasted it and praised it. Uncle Zheng, you say this almost every day? But I need to get back to work at the East House, so I can't listen to your ramblings. With that, he jovially left with the jug of wine. That little brat doesn't know anything. My Zheng family's wine was indeed tasted by a celestial being over 1,000 years ago for more than 60 years. Zheng muttered to himself, taking a deep drag on his pipe. His family still kept a few wooden carvings that had over 1,000 years of history. They depicted his ancestors' first generation in Flowing Cloud City alongside a celestial being with a blurred face. In the Zheng family, there was a tale passed down through generations that the family originally wasn't from this Flowing Cloud City, but had migrated here during a snow disaster. The legend also stated that their ancestor had lived with that celestial being for over 60 years and was a significant benefactor in their migration. Ancestor Zhengdaniu lived to be 137 years old, and even before passing, he always remembered that celestial being. This tale has been passed down for generations and is not a fabrication. Zheng squinted, tapping his pipe on the ground, looking up at the sky with a proud expression. But soon, he rubbed his eyes and looked closer at the sky, gradually opening his mouth wide. In the sky, Where there had once been clear blue and sunshine, ripples, visible to the naked eye, swept across the sky like waves in an instant. Thunder roared, rumbling incessantly, causing the bustling street to fall silent within moments. Everyone looked up at the sky, their eyes filled with panic. Then, after the rippling waves cascaded around, streaks of light suddenly appeared on the horizon, plummeting to the earth like meteors. These streaks of light effortlessly sliced through the atmospheric barriers, transforming into cultivators. Celestial beings. The mortals below exclaimed, trembling in fear, with some quickly hiding indoors. Do not disturb these mortals. Gather at the demonic sea immediately. A commanding voice boomed like thunder. The descending cultivators did not pause and rushed off into the distance. At the same time, across the entire sky of the vermilion bird star, the same astonishing scene appeared in nearly every corner. The sudden upheaval in the heavens instantly sent waves of panic through the mortal empires below. People stared blankly at the sky, trembling, unsure of what to do. Fortunately, the immortals descending from the heavens did not harm the mortals in any way. As soon as they appeared, they immediately sped away. The native cultivators of the vermilion bird star naturally noticed this scene as well, but none dared to take flight to question it. Even those who had reached the nascent soul or spirit-severing stages remained rooted in fear. Each of those foreign cultivators streaking across the sky possessed a cultivation so profound that it sent tremors through the hearts of all who saw them. Just a glance from some of them was enough to make one's soul nearly collapse. Even the few cultivators on the vermilion bird star who had reached the ascendant level could only stare in stunned silence at the heavens, overwhelmed by what they saw. Zhou Wutai's expression was grim. Among the many streaks of rainbow light in the sky, there were only a very few he might be able to confront. The aura from most of them alone was enough to make him gasp. Fortunately, although these cultivators came from many different factions, none of them paid any attention to the local cultivators of the vermilion bird star. Instead, they raced toward the demonic sea with incredible speed. The sky was almost completely obscured by the countless rainbows of light. Moments later, colossal shadows began to emerge in the sky. Even the distant sun was eclipsed by one of the massive forms, plunging the land into partial darkness. These shadows were the towering halls of the Thunder Immortal Palace. They did not descend onto the vermilion bird star, but instead encircled it in the surrounding starry sky. After all, the vermilion bird star was already half abandoned and could not withstand the heaven and earth shockwaves triggered by the descent of the Thunder Immortal Palace. Not long after these shadows appeared, coffins of various sizes began to fall from the heavens, accompanied by swarms of cultivators. As they advanced toward the demonic sea, a group of cultivators caught sight of a massive statue on the ground. The statue stood at the heart of the Cloud Heaven sect. A proud and defiant cultivator from Luo Tian noticed that such a small cultivation star actually had the audacity to erect such a grand statue. As he looked more closely, he found the figure carved into the statue somewhat familiar. Without giving it much thought, he sneered and raised his hand, intending to destroy it as he passed. But just as his right hand was about to strike, a cold, feminine voice came from behind him. Stop! The cultivator paused, turned around, and said in a low voice, Shizi Feng, what do you mean by this? The speaker was none other than Shizi Feng. She glanced coldly at the defiant cultivator and said calmly, Take a good look at who is carved on that statue. With that, she paid him no further attention. Instead, she cast one last complicated look at the statue, sighed inwardly, and departed into the distance. The defiant cultivator frowned and focused his gaze on the statue. The longer he looked, the more familiar it seemed. A moment later, a thunderclap seemed to go off in his mind. His eyes flew open, and he gasped. This is the true Thunder Immortal, Su Mu. Though Luo Tian had stripped Wong Lin of the title of True Thunder Immortal long ago, the epic battle in which Wong Lin had once fought for that title remained legendary. That glory could not be forgotten in a mere few hundred years. The arrogant cultivator broke into a cold sweat. He knew full well that this Su Mu, also known by his Dao title Demon Path Scion, was infamous for his ruthless slaughter, someone he absolutely could not afford to provoke. And trying to destroy such a statue now seemed petty and despicable. Without another word, he turned and fled at full speed. Others also recognized the statue. Among them, Yunzi and members of the cultivation sect. As commands were passed along, no one dared to lay a hand on the statue again. The cultivation sect, Luo Tian, and various branches of the Cultivation Alliance had all converged upon the Vermilion Bird Star. Armed with different pieces of intelligence, they headed straight for the demonic sea. The Vermilion Bird Star was small to begin with, and under the flash step and teleportation of so many cultivators, they quickly reached their destination. In truth, the number of cultivators who had actually entered the Vermilion Bird Star was not large, fewer than 7,000 in total. They were the vanguard from each faction, sent to verify the truth of the jade slip left behind by Wong Lin. While it held immense credibility, it still needed to be confirmed. The majority of cultivators remained in the starry skies outside the Vermilion Bird Star, separated by clear boundaries between their factions, quietly awaiting word from the first wave. The restrictive barriers guarding the ancient god ruins posed no challenge to the elite vanguard. They tore through them like a blade through silk and arrived swiftly at the entrance. But the moment they crossed the outer seal of the shattered star ring and reached the gateway to the ancient god ruins, a series of fierce, guttural roars erupted from within the oval-shaped portal. The first trial within the ancient god ruins had begun. A series of roars erupted from the entrance portal of the ancient god ruins within the demonic sea, causing the surrounding cultivators to hesitate for a moment. However, it did not stop them. One by one, they charged forward and stepped directly into the portal. In the endless abyss, the moment the first cultivator's figure appeared, a red beam shot up from the dark depths below. Just as the cultivator was about to act, a powerful crimson electric current suddenly flashed from below, striking the cultivator in an instant. The cultivator's body trembled, momentarily paralyzed. In that brief moment, the red beam neared, revealing a gigantic crimson python, tens of thousands of feet long, which devoured the cultivator in one bite. This action seemed to signal the beginning of a massacre. Roars erupted, and savage beasts from the abyss charged out, engaging in a life-and-death battle with the cultivators who entered one after another. In an instant, blood rained down, spilling throughout the abyss, intensifying the ferocity of the beasts. As more cultivators joined the fray, the massive fluctuations in the primordial energy created by the battle disturbed a presence deep in the abyss, a place even Wong Lin had never ventured to. Two blood-red eyes seemed to pierce through the distance, watching the cultivators above. At the same time, within the blood sea of the ancient god ruins, atop a massive conical stone, Tashan, with red hair, slowly slid his fingers across the surface, producing a sharp sound. He slowly lifted his head, a cruel smile spreading across his face. He raised his right hand and made a violent grab. Beside Tashan, the blood-red sky twisted, as if some force was trying to break free. With a thunderous roar, a rift suddenly split open in the sky. The rift stretched for tens of thousands of feet, and the suppressed murderous intent that had been bottled up for countless millennia erupted in an instant, causing the entire blood sea world to tremble. A wave of oppressive force descended from the rift, causing the blood sea beneath to calm down momentarily, then spread outwards. Gradually, flashes of lightning howled out, surrounding the edges of the rift. Tashan raised his head, his eyes filled with a ruthless glint. His hoarse voice echoed, "Royal sacred artifact, the godslaying spear, in my name, Tashan, descend." As soon as he finished speaking, a roar reverberated from within the rift. Lightning flickered as a red beam shot out, heading straight for Tashan's right hand. He caught it with a firm grasp. The red beam struggled for a moment before it ceased, transforming into a crimson spear about 100 feet long, with a gleaming trail of light that emitted an unimaginable aura. Gripping the spear, Tashan revealed a bloodthirsty smile. He threw it forward with immense force. There was a thunderous roar as the godslaying spear shot out, piercing through the blood-colored sky, as if it would tear the very heavens apart. Upon escaping the blood-colored sky, the spear's speed increased. It tore through layers of barriers in the ancient god ruins and appeared in the abyss. Its speed was so fast that it contained a force capable of shaking the hearts of even shattered nirvana cultivators. As the spear emerged, it streaked across the battlefield, heading straight for the cultivators locked in battle with the savage beasts. At the moment the spear appeared, the cultivators were struck with overwhelming shock. Before they could react, anguished screams filled the air. In an instant, the red light flashed, and all nearby cultivators disintegrated, turning into a rain of blood. Yet, the blood did not scatter. Instead, it was absorbed by the red light. Under the god-slaying spear, no cultivator could resist. In the blink of an eye, thousands of cultivators disintegrated, and the remaining cultivators, caught in fierce battles with the beasts, suffered devastating casualties. Only a little over 1,000 cultivators, filled with panic, scattered in all directions. The god-slaying spear, encircled by red light, did not pursue the fleeing cultivators, but instead crashed through the void, shooting out from the entrance portal of the ancient god ruins. Upon leaving the ruins and appearing in the demonic sea, the entire vermilion bird star trembled violently, and an indescribable, overwhelming aura surged into the heavens. The primordial energy in its vicinity began to retreat, as if it could not exist where the god-slaying spear was. The red light flickered like a 1,000-foot-long streak, and the god-slaying spear shot out of the demonic sea, piercing the sky like a red beam, shattering the astral wind layer before it even touched the spear, allowing it to continue unhindered into the starry sky. The once royal artifact of the ancient gods, after countless millennia, once again dominated the stars. All the forces outside the vermilion bird star sensed the awe-inspiring aura almost simultaneously. Just as they prepared to act, the god-slaying spear suddenly approached a thunder immortal hall in Luotian. The red glow flashed, and the god-slaying spear pierced through the grand hall. The hall trembled violently, and then collapsed with a thunderous crash, scattering into countless shards in all directions. The god-slaying spear didn't stop. It continued to tear through, causing the thunder immortal halls of Luotian to collapse one after another. Even the corpsing sect suffered a severe blow. One coffin after another exploded as the god-slaying spear pierced through them, and even the corpse puppets inside turned to ash under that destructive power. The forces of the Alliance suffered even worse. The god-slaying spear tore through the crowd, and blood-curdling screams echoed as anyone nearby was instantly killed. Among them was an elderly woman from the Alliance who was at the Shattered Nirvana early stage. This elderly woman, relying on her cultivation at the early stage of Shattered Nirvana, believed she could stop the god-slaying spear for a moment. But just as her hands formed a seal and divine powers circled around her, the god-slaying spear completely ignored all her defenses and shot straight through her chest. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she looked down at her wound. Her body exploded, and her essence spirit disintegrated into nothingness. Yen Lazy's pupils contracted. He and many elders beside him immediately flew out, heading straight for the god-slaying spear. On the other side, the corpsing sect also dispatched cultivators to surround the god-slaying spear. Just as these powerful cultivators were about to encircle it, the god-slaying spear suddenly shifted direction and flew far away, heading straight for Vermilion Bird Star. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a red streak and returned to the demonic sea, entering the entrance to the ancient god ruins, disappearing from sight. A hoarse voice echoed through the heavens and the earth as the god-slaying spear left, reverberating through the starry sky. "We are waiting for you." The starry sky fell silent. Yen Lazy and the others wore grave expressions. Several of the elders behind him turned pale, disbelief written on their faces. What is this?" What Wong Lin said, "It's true." Yen Lazy's eyes flickered. He had come under the command of Luo Tian, the one whom he deeply respected, and he had to act. After a moment's hesitation, Yen Lazy shouted, "All Luo Tian cultivators, follow me to Vermilion Bird Star." With that, he surged forward, heading toward Vermilion Bird Star. Behind him, numerous elders and countless cultivators followed like a river of light. On the side of the corpsing sect, after a brief silence, a sound like grinding stones echoed. "Corpsing sect, move out." The entire sect surged into action, each cultivator carrying a coffin, heading straight for Vermilion Bird Star. The 8 people at the front were all surrounded by black mist, exuding immense pressure. The various factions of the alliance hesitated for a moment. They didn't all rush in, but instead left half of their forces behind, with the remaining cultivators following their respective sect leaders into Vermilion Bird Star. At the same time, in the entrance to the ancient god ruins, from the boundless abyss below, an existence disturbed by the fluctuations of heaven and earth slowly rose. Gradually, a blurry figure began to emerge. It wasn't large, only about 2 yards tall, but it vaguely took on the shape of a robust man. What truly made everyone hold their breath was the creature's neck. This man's neck split into 18 branches, each one as long as 100 yards, resembling giant serpents. On each branch was a head, some male, some female, some old, some young. Looking at the figure, it was clear this was no human, but a mysterious, powerful beast. This beast was spoken of in ancient legends. Though the tales were not necessarily trustworthy, it wasn't the only one of its kind. In ancient times, there existed a spirit named Ji, who took human form. Born in 3 days, it defied the heavens and fell, its head turning into blood. From its body, a beast was born, called Ji Qiong. This beast would grow 1 head each time it devoured heaven and earth, becoming stronger with each one, daring to fight the heavens, and would then fall into an eternal sleep. Meanwhile, within the Renegade Immortal realm, compared to the strange happenings in the ancient god ruins, everything appeared peaceful, save for the cracks in the heavens and the tremors in the earth. Wong Lin's group, whose cultivation far surpassed what the Rain realm could handle, immediately caused a fragment of the Rain realm to collapse upon entering. A massive suction force was created, pulling the surrounding fragments toward them. Wong Lin stood at the highest point, looking down at the familiar Rain realm fragments. His eyes glinted with deep thought as he recalled the distress signal from that very fragment. Surrounded by dozens of people, all eyes were on Wong Lin. This time, they were here to rescue the Azure Dragon's Sacred Emperor, and they would follow Wong Lin's command. After all, Wong Lin was the Vermilion Bird's Sacred Emperor, and most importantly, only Wong Lin knew the location where the Azure Dragon's Sacred Emperor was trapped. Wong Lin shifted, and with the sound of thunder, he sped down toward the fragments. The others didn't slow down, following Wong Lin as they dashed ahead. They couldn't afford to stay here too long. If they triggered a large-scale collapse of the Rain realm, it would not only ruin the rescue of the Azure Dragon's Sacred Emperor, but also cause their efforts to save Qing Lin to fail. Everything had to be done quickly. Everyone knew this well. Wong Lin raced forward but didn't unleash his full speed. Instead, he moved in a gentle manner, trying not to cause the Rain realm to collapse as he advanced. Along the way, he encountered no cultivators. Even if any cultivators passed by with the Rain Cauldron, upon seeing the extreme instability of the area, as though it could collapse at any moment, they would feel a chill down their spines and immediately leave. It wasn't long before Wong Lin reached the fragmented land where the cry for help had once echoed. He clearly remembered that the cry had come from a mountain that looked like a giant lock. Now, standing on the land, he spread his divine sense and immediately found that very mountain, which was thousands of miles away. With a flicker of his body, Wong Lin quickly flew toward it. It grew closer. Behind him, several elders from the Azure Dragon's sacred sect were excited. They had waited too long for this day. The greater the hope, the greater the fear of disappointment. At this moment, their hearts were filled with anxious anticipation, and even their Tao hearts began to waver. Moments later, the mountain that resembled a lock appeared in their sight. That's where it was. The cry for help came from there. Wong Lin pointed ahead. The elders of the Azure Dragon's sacred sect immediately rushed forward, heading straight for the mountain. "Help me! Help me!" As they drew nearer, faint, weak cries came slowly from the mountain. Wong Lin's body halted instantly, but the others around him seemed to ignore the sound as if they hadn't heard it. "Can you hear the cries for help?" Wong Lin's gaze flickered as he asked in a deep voice. From far away, there were distant, thunderous sounds, making the dust in the sky move as if swept by the wind. Aside from that, the entire Rain realm was eerily quiet. Wong Lin's voice echoed, and even the fastest elder of the Azure Dragon's sacred sect, who had already rushed ahead, stopped immediately. Everyone turned to look at Wong Lin. "Lord Vermilion Bird's Sacred Emperor, what did you hear?" asked an elder of the Azure Dragon Sacred Sect, his voice low. Wong Lin frowned, listening carefully. The cries for help were like the wind, faintly weeping and carried by the breeze. Clearly, these sounds were only audible to him. Situ Nan, who knew Wong Lin best, saw him frowning and calmly spoke. There's no sound at all. It must be an illusion, nothing to worry about. Wong Lin shook his head and chose not to bring it up again. The few elders from the Azure Dragon Sacred Sect exchanged glances, but didn't speak further. They leaped into the air, heading straight for the mountain, and everyone followed closely behind. Wong Lin, still frowning, kept his eyes on the increasingly approaching mountain. If it weren't for the information left in the Azure Light Shield, he would never have believed that the Azure Dragon Sacred Emperor was trapped here. But as they got closer, an uneasy feeling began to rise within him for no apparent reason. Just then, an elder from the Azure Dragon Sacred Sect shouted in an excited, trembling voice. It's the Sacred Emperor. Look, this handprint. It's the Azure Dragon Sacred Sect's divine power, the Azure Wood Seal. The elder hovered in midair, excitedly pointing to a patch of withered grass on the middle section of the mountain. As soon as these words were spoken, the other Azure Dragon Sacred Sect elders rushed over and looked at the deeply engraved handprint on the mountain inside the withered grass. Open this mountain and rescue the Sacred Emperor. The elders immediately spread out, forming hand seals. The Rain Realm fragment trembled violently as vast amounts of heavenly and earthly energy surrounded them. Their shattered nirvana cultivations erupted, and at the same time, several Azure Dragon phantoms appeared, roaring as they charged toward the mountain, surrounding it as if trying to pull it from the ground. Rise! The Azure Dragon Sacred Sect elders shouted in unison, and the ground shook violently as the mountain trembled. Large chunks of rocks fell from the peak, rolling down. Dust clouds surged into the sky, and dragon roars echoed as the Azure Dragons wrapped around the mountain and lifted it several inches. The elders from the Black Tortoise Sacred Sect and White Tiger Sacred Sect immediately flew over. With hand seals, unimaginable amounts of celestial power spread out. Elders from the Black Tortoise Sacred Sect summoned their phantom forms, which dived beneath the mountain as if lifting it, causing the mountain to rise again with a thunderous rumble. The White Tiger Sacred Sect's elders descended rapidly, their divine powers surrounding them as they pulled the mountain upward. Gradually, the mountain was lifted higher, and the shaking of the earth intensified. The distant thunderous sounds in the sky echoed over a wide area. The elders of the Vermilion Bird Sacred Sect also didn't lag behind. After flying to the mountain, they unleashed their divine powers, preparing to lift the entire mountain in one go. In that instant, a beam of golden light suddenly shot up from the mountain peak, piercing through the sky. In the blink of an eye, another beam of golden light followed, illuminating the surroundings. In a flash, countless beams of golden light erupted from the mountain, each one reaching thousands of feet, making the peak appear as if it contained a sun within it. As the golden light spread, a massive golden lock slowly emerged atop the peak. From a distance, this scene was nothing short of astonishing. The lock was about 10,000 feet in size, shimmering with golden light, and intricate golden runes flickered and surged across its surface. A mighty divine force radiated outward, forming a golden wave of light that swept in all directions, forcing the elders of the four sacred sects to retreat, moving further away from the peak. At this moment, Wang Wei and Huan stared at the golden lock in shock. They exchanged a glance to confirm that they weren't seeing things. After a brief hesitation, they said nothing further and immediately began to retreat. With the loss of everyone's divine influence, the mountain slowly began to descend once more. Gather the power of the four saints. Do not destroy the mountain. Just raise it to 70 feet. This golden lock was sealed by immortal Emperor Wong Lin, and it does not only imprison me. You must not release the other item as well. A weak yet urgent cry for help suddenly echoed from beneath the mountain. This time, it wasn't just Wong Lin who heard it, but everyone around heard it as well. The elders of the Azure Dragon Sacred Sect immediately trembled. The eldest among them cried out in excitement. Sacred Emperor! This is the voice of the Sacred Emperor. Wong Lin turned and looked at Wang Wei and Huan, cupping his hands in respect. I begged the two seniors for assistance. The two remained silent for a moment. Wang Wei sighed deeply and said slowly, "This formation indeed carries the aura of our master." Very well. With that, he flicked his sleeve, and clouds appeared beneath his feet, lifting him toward the golden lock. Huan sighed inwardly, following closely behind Wang Wei. The two approached the golden lock. "This lock can only be sealed for a brief moment by the two of us. You must act quickly to save him." They spoke, and instantly, a multitude of restrictions appeared around Huan. These restrictions emitted a ghostly glow, and as they formed, they surged toward the golden lock. Wang Wei raised his right hand, and a mist of water materialized in front of him, dividing into countless wisps, enveloping each of Huan's restrictions. At this moment, the elders of the four sacred sects showed no hesitation. The Azure Dragon elders formed hand seals, each summoning their divine powers, while the elders from the other three sects surrounded the area. Their divine arts and magical tools manifested, creating a destructive force. After all, the combined powers of 35 shattered nirvana cultivators were not something to be underestimated. Not only would this mountain be destroyed, but even the unstable rain realm would collapse instantly. Everything was prepared. All that was left was for the golden lock to close for just a moment. The two of them took a deep breath and immediately sat cross-legged in midair, their hands forming seals as they pointed toward the golden lock. Instantly, the surrounding restrictions and water mist surged, transforming into a giant key radiating an endless, eerie glow. The massive key sped toward the golden lock, breaking through layers of golden light and merging into the lock itself. In the blink of an eye, the golden light radiating from the lock faltered for a moment, and all the golden beams immediately extinguished. In that instant, there was no trace of golden light left in the world. "Quick, save him!" Wang Wei's low roar rang out. For ordinary people, a single breath is just a blink of an eye, but for shattered nirvana experts, it was more than enough time to unleash their divine powers. Divine light erupted from all directions as the cultivators rushed toward the mountain, lifting it with incredible force. The mountain was gradually raised, rumbling as it ascended. This mountain had been refined by immortal Emperor Qing Lin in the past. It was no ordinary object. Even without the golden lock's suppression, lifting it was no simple task. 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet. In the blink of an eye, the mountain had been raised 5 feet. The pressure emanating from the peak grew stronger as it rose, and just as it reached 6 feet, not yet 7, the breath of time passed. Once again, golden light filled the heavens. The massive golden lock reappeared, and the key that had fused with it instantly shattered. Both Huan and Wang Wei staggered backward in the golden light. With the reappearance of the golden lock, an immense pressure suddenly descended on the mountain, increasing its intensity by countless times. The 35 shattered nirvana experts around it immediately felt the overwhelming force and grunted as they held their ground. At that moment, a long howl echoed from beneath the mountain, and a green light, like a green dragon, erupted from the base of the peak, struggling to break free. Within that azure light stood an elderly man, his clothes tattered, his appearance utterly disheveled. Yet his face radiated intense excitement. He was just about to burst forth. At that very moment, under the turbulent skies above this rain realm fragment, the gray clouds suddenly spread in all directions. Out of nowhere, a figure materialized. He was clad in white, appearing somewhat aged, and his eyes seemed to contain the vastness of heaven and earth. The instant he appeared, the rain realm's collapse intensified. "Seems I've arrived just in time," declared the old man, none other than Tian Yunzi. As soon as he appeared, he stepped directly toward the mountain peak. At the moment he drew near, Wong Lin sharply raised his head. He had felt a growing unease, though he couldn't tell whether it came from the mountain or beyond. Thus, he had yet to make a move himself. Now, seeing Tian Yunzi emerge once more, Wong Lin's eyes flashed. His left eye ignited with flames, his right eye crackled with lightning. In the blink of an eye, a thunder orb and a fire orb formed in front of him. With a wave of his hand, both orbs shot forth like lightning, instantly merging into a sea of fire brimming with lightning arcs, hurtling straight toward Tian Yunzi. At the same time, Wang Wei and Huan unleashed their divine arts, simultaneously pointing at Tian Yunzi. With a sweep of his wide sleeve, a surge of madness erupted around Tian Yunzi. Before him, 3 clones materialized instantly and charged forward. Just as Wang Wei and Hu Wan's divine powers closed in, one of the clones gave a twisted smile. Forming a hand seal, he released a wave of destructive power from within, and in that instant, self-detonated. A thunderous boom echoed out as the clone exploded, creating a devastating shockwave that swept in all directions. But that wasn't the end. What was truly bizarre was that the other 2 clones also revealed eerie smiles and chose to self-detonate at the same moment. Highly recommended. 2 masterpieces, Shrouding Heavens and the Great Zhou Royal Family. No need to guess who wrote them. The legendary Chen Dong and the mighty Huangfu, true masters of the craft.